Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is part 3 of 3. So this one is going to be a little bit different. Rather than just talking about this palette here, we're going to compare it with another one. Basically this is part 3 of my Kaleidos makeup series. I did a video for the other 2 palettes. If you haven't watched those, go ahead and watch them now. But basically I wanted to talk about the palettes separately versus having one video with all 3 palettes. I just thought that would be a little more helpful, especially for some people who were maybe not interested in all of them. That way you can kind of pick the video you want to watch and then watch it if you weren't interested in all 3. Anyways, today's video is on the Syfy green palette, so we'll just talk about this individually first and then get into the rest of the video. So it looks exactly like the other ones do, it just has its color scheme on the outside. This is the front of it and then back of it. I know I already said this, but I love the packaging of these. I just think it's beautiful. Like, you could print that pattern like on other things. I don't know, like cups or something. Like cute little makeup cups. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But that pattern could be used on so many other things and it would be really cute. So yeah, it looks exactly the same like the other ones. It's magnetic. It has a little mirror on the inside. So this is what this one looks like on the inside. So super pretty. So to jump into what we're doing this video, obviously we are going to do a look on this palette here, but on my Instagram I did a survey to figure out if you just wanted a video on this one here or if you wanted a comparison video between this one and another palette. And it turns out you guys wanted a comparison video. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you do that because I ask you guys questions all the time, what you guys want to see on this channel here. So if you want to be included in that, make sure you follow me on Instagram. The link is down somewhere in the description, so find me on there and follow me if you don't already. Anyways, today's video is going to be a comparison between this palette here, so the Syfy Green palette by Kaleidos, and the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. So although obviously there is a huge difference between the amount of shades that you get, part of this palette is really similar to parts of this palette. And depending on, I don't remember how much this one is, but it is pretty pricey. It's like almost $60, I think. I could be wrong, it could be a little bit more than that. Sorry, I had a cup of water on this palette and it was leaking, so like started a little water bubble on it. Anyways, let me try to show you guys what they look like. I guess I could just show you, I know this is a little messy right now, but this is the Melt one on the inside, and then trying to balance both of these at the same time, and I'm not very good at doing that. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I think that's the best that I can open this one. So it's these 2 right here. So this is very similar to kind of this side here. But overall, I mean, when I saw this palette, I was like, oh my god, it's just like the Gemini palette. And of course, yeah, it is different because it does have only 6 shades versus this one having, let's see, 10 shades. I think I did that right. So there are a few shades short, but I mean, depending on like if you didn't have this palette already and you were interested in getting it and you wanted to save a little bit of money and you also didn't like how big and bulky this one is. I mean, it's not really bulky, like the packaging's really nice, but it is a fairly like big palette. You could always do something that's a little bit smaller, so just want to see what looks we can create with the 2. So I'm gonna do a look with the Kaleidos one on this eye here. I don't know why I needed that to point to this eye, but we'll do this on my right eye and then do the Gemini palette on my left eye and then kind of see if we're able to create similar looks or if they look really different from each other. But the point of it is to try to create something so similar that you can't even tell what palette is what. So if you are interested in seeing what I come up with, go ahead and keep on watching. And if you're new here, how this works is I'm going to speed up through me actually doing my makeup. I probably will break and then let you guys know that I'm doing the other eye. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the shadow part on here. I will point to the shades that I'm using, and then I will catch this eye up with the other palette, and then after that I'll finish the rest of my makeup and then come back to talk about my thoughts and compare the two. So let's go ahead and start with the Kaleidos palette. I did already prime my eyes, so I am 100% ready to go when it comes to that. So this eye is basically done. I might need to clean that up later, but I'm gonna get into this eye here with the Gemini palette. So basically we're gonna just try to get as close as we can to this eye with the other palette, and then kind of see how they look and all of that. Okay, just for fun, before I actually keep going with this eye, I just want to show you guys on my fingers. So there are differences between the metallic green shades. This is the one from the Melt palette, and this is the one from the Kaleidos palette. Sorry, I'm like doing the live long and prosper thing without like actually trying to do it. Hold on. I can't handle myself. Okay. Anyways, those are the differences. I mean, yes, they look similar, but they also, you can see the differences. So it'll be interesting to actually see them on my eyes. So let's go ahead and finish this. I don't remember if I actually put glitter glue on this eye. I could have sworn I did, so I just put some on there because this shimmer shade definitely was not as strong as the other one. I know the other one is brighter, but let's see. Okay, so there definitely is a huge difference. So this is basically it for both of these looks. I can already see like a big difference in between them. Well, mainly the shimmer shades, so it's really making it super different. Like from here, it's really obvious. I'm sure it is to you guys too. But I'm gonna finish up this look with a little bit of eyeliner, I think, and some lashes, and then do the rest of my face, and then we will come back and talk about it. Okay, this is the finished look. So yeah, I don't know where to start really. I mean, I already can see the difference between them, so it's like I keep staring at it, and like for the most part though, like they're so similar. Like but yeah, as far as, okay, the first thing is looking at this and kind of just like looking at everything together. The only real apparent difference when you're looking at these together is that the mattes are a little bit darker on this side. So overall, this is just a darker eye. Even with the shimmer is not quite as bright. It's definitely a darker green, and it doesn't pop as much as this one does, the Kaleidos one. But for the most part, like the biggest factor of them being different is the colors of the two greens. And then the one thing that I did notice is I really wanted to use this shade here, but the Melt one doesn't really have one like this. The only one that it would have been even close to would have been the other shimmer shade in the palette, because there's only two in the Melt one, and they're not similar like whatsoever. Those would have been like the closest ones. I really wanted to use both shimmers, but because they were so different, I decided not to. I was gonna do the green shimmer and then the champagne shade for the Gemini, and then the more golden green, the Kaleidos one, like either in the beginning or in the middle. Like I was either gonna have them be be like the lighter one and then the green one, or the green one and then the lighter one. But because they were so different, I really didn't want to use it because I really wanted to create a look that was so similar that you almost couldn't even tell the difference. Like when you're looking at this, if you're not even looking at the palettes and you don't even have either of them, I really don't think that you'd be able to look at my face and be like, oh, I know what one's what. And maybe you would, that's totally fine. Some people could totally do that. But if you didn't have the palettes already, you probably wouldn't be able to tell what one it was, especially not looking at them like like swatching them and stuff like that. That would just give it away. That would be not fair. But I mean, yeah, you really, like I said, the mattes are definitely darker on this side. I feel like the mattes in the Gemini palette and just melt mattes in general can be kind of muddy when you start using other colors together, and it really deepens up and becomes like one color almost. It's kind of hard to get definition with their mattes. I mean, overall I really like their shadows, but their mattes are kind of a delicate thing that you really have to pay attention to what you're doing, because if you're trying to go too heavy-handed, you can kind of get the colors lost into each other. Where with the Kaleidos one and with the other palettes of theirs that I've used so far, I don't really have that problem. I do feel like overall their formulas are pretty, I mean, they're not similar, they're not identical, but I definitely do feel like, I don't know, here are the two yellow shades. Sorry, I got distracted. The one in the middle is the Lorelei color. I keep doing that. I guess my fingers can't just stay like that. The Lorelei one from the Gemini palette, and then this one is the matte yellowy shade from the Kaleidos palette that I don't remember what it's called. So those are actually really similar. Let's get you guys a little bit closer. So those are similar. I totally lost my train of thought, so I don't really know where I was going with that. I do think that the Kaleidos formula overall is definitely a lot more buttery and smooth. I feel like the shimmers, especially with the glitter glue, are super easy to work with. I have to build up their shimmers, melt shimmers a little bit more, but they are still really pretty. But overall, I think formula-wise, the Kaleidos one, I honestly like their formula better. Not to say that melts is bad by any means, but when you're thinking about these two palettes specifically, especially if you don't have either of these yet, the fact that this one is $24 and then this one is like 50 something, almost $60, or it could even be $60, I don't remember. Their palettes and their stuff is pretty expensive to me. Like, yeah, I don't know, just that's the face that I have when I think of their prices, because their prices are kind of ridiculous. I mean, their stuff is good, but you know, anyways. But when you're thinking about these two, I mean, if you want a smaller palette and you don't have this one already, then this would be a good idea. Like, look at the size difference. Like, that's okay, you know? Anyways, yeah, like, if you don't have the Gemini palette and you've been interested in it, and if it's not in stock, because I know sometimes their stuff goes really fast and sometimes it doesn't get restocked right away, then this would be a really good option, because I'm pretty sure it's in stock still. I mean, I don't think I've seen their stuff go completely out of stock yet. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting comparison. Obviously you can't, it's not a direct like dupe within the shimmers, but everything else is really close to each other. This eye is definitely darker toned, period, like it's just darker. Some of the undertones in the mattes are slightly different, but for the most part, I mean, they are really similar. They're not identical, but they're very similar. And yeah, I mean, this is still a really good palette, but like I said, I think the biggest determining factor is, do you want a palette this big? If that doesn't bother you, then you could get this one. If you're okay with spending the money to get this palette, then again, you can get this one. If you're looking for a cheaper alternative, something that's going to be a little more compact, something that's a little more travel friendly, then this would be a really good option. Like I said, overall, I actually do like Kaleidos's formula better. Not to say, like, I really don't think these are bad palettes or bad formula by any means, but the biggest difference to me is the mattes are a lot more creamy, they're a lot easier to work with. There's more separation with the mattes, and you don't really have to worry about them getting lost in each other, basically. And then the shimmers, they're just a tiny bit easier to work with. And you know, I mean, this shade's already brighter, so to me, I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought, hold on. But yeah, I just felt like their shimmers were easier to work with. Not to say that these are difficult to work with, but this one, you know, this shimmer did take a little bit more building up than this one did. That's just the truth. And I did use a glitter primer with both of them. I'm almost positive I put glitter primer on this one and then I started applying it, and then I just needed to add more. And then I also tried to wet my brush a little bit just to try. I was trying my hardest to get this eye to the brightness of this one. Obviously they're two totally different colors. I mean, yes, they're similar, but they are different. So this one just has more brightness. It's just a brighter color. It's more of like an electric-y green, if that makes sense, and this one's definitely a lot darker. But I was trying my best to kind of build it up, make it pop as much as I could to get it on the same level as the other eye, and it just wasn't happening. But it is just, you know, they're not identical shades. So anyways, I mean, I think that really wraps it up to me. I do love this palette, but I mean, if you don't have this one and you're looking for a cheaper alternative and you want to try a new makeup brand, like if you haven't tried Kaleidos already, I would 100% like recommend getting this palette. If you like Melt, you've used them before, you just want to treat yourself to a little something more shade like variety, then this one is also still a good option. So that pretty much concludes this video, guys. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.